Alright, so right here we have our commander deck with our Sevinne commander. Now, we're going to go over the cards real fast. Alright, so first up we have Ramp. Now, I'm very partial to mana rocks that tap for 3. So we have like our Dreamstone Hedron, the Gilded Lotus, Everflowing Chalice, Soul Ring obviously, Firemind Vessel, Morn Power Stone. Solemn Simulacrum is slightly different. And then I only have 3 2-mana rocks. I am not like those people who believes that 2-mana rocks are very good. I think they're not that good. So in total, I'm running 13 mana rocks. Then we come to the cantrips. Now I'm trying to mainly run instant speed cantrips. As you can see, I only have 2 sorcery speed cantrips, but they both dig 3 cards in. And then we have Deliberate, which is an instant speed preordained, but it costs 1 more mana. Brainstorm, which is good. Frantic Search, which is also good. None of these actually draw cards, but they do let me dig into the deck, and they do it for a very low mana cost. So they're fairly good. And if I have a Guild Mage in play, I can copy them. Speaking of copying, we have our great card, Increasing Vengeance, which can flash back to just, copy stuff. We have Dual Casting, which allows us to copy more things. We have Double Vision, which copies 1 thing each turn. Because this deck is a very large instant speed emphasis, this can copy more than 1 card per round of the table. And then we have Primal Amulet, which makes all of our spells cost less, but also turns into a land that copies our spells. Next up we have our removal and counter spells. Now we have a counter spell here, which is slightly altered by me. We have another counter spell, which is just beautiful, Whirlwind Denial. It can get rid of abilities too. We have a counter spell that also has Cycling. We have another counter spell with Cycling, which is basically a cantrip. And then we have our 3, just 1 mana, destroy a creature spell. I'll do this one Exiles. Made a little bit of a mess. Let's just clean this up. Now, if the board gets too cluttered, we can just get rid of everything, but if we don't want to, we can just cycle it away. We have this, which can be used from the graveyard. It'll get rid of everything but 1 creature for each player. We have, of course, a Blasphemous Act. We're not going to run a Sevinne deck without Blasphemous Act. Gets rid of every creature, generally, and costs very low mana. We have a instant speed board wipe, and another instant speed board wipe in the form of Rout. And then we have Cleansing Nova to get rid of artifacts and enchantments, or just creatures. All very versatile. I like them. Yet again, instant speed board wipes are really, really, really strong. And no, this deck does not run Cyclonic Rift. Nah. Then we have our actual digging cards, which I run 7 of. We have Think Twice, which flashes back to draw a card. It's a good card. You can cast it from our graveyard if we need to. We have a Cycling or Draw 4 card spell. Draw 4 cards is nice. We have another card that draws 3 cards and then discards a card, but it's instant speed. We have another one, instant speed. Another one, instant speed. And instant speed. And then we have a sorcery that draws 3 cards. Usually this discarding card is not going to be very relevant. We have our 3 lands, which are also spells. These 3 lands are also spells. We have our Amiria's Call, creates angels. We have our counterspell land, and then we have a very minor removal spell. Mostly it's just there so we can cast another spell if we have too many lands from drawing a bunch of cards. Next up, win conditions. Now, we can win with mill, we can win with a million billion creatures, and we can win with just casting Time Warp, or we might lose, But if you cast Time Warp, there's a combo video. It's right here. You can see this video. This has the combo for how this works. Very simple. This is really good. Just think about how many creatures you can get. Just so many creatures. I'll do the math. So when you cast it the first time, you get 5 creatures. But when you cast it the second time, for its flashback cost, you get 10 creatures. But because of Sevinne, you get ×2, so you get 20. Now let's talk about recursion. Now this deck is very good at recurring spells. We have Finale of Promise, which is mostly going to be used on 2 different cantrips, because like I said, we run a lot of instants and a lot of sorceries, mostly a lot of instants. We're going to be able to copy them, because yet again we're casting them from our graveyard with Sevinne copying them. This is a fairly pricey card though. But speaking of not pricey cards, we have Reconstruct History, which currently is really cheap. And it returns a whole bunch of different stuff, and then it exiles itself, which isn't a big problem. We have Codex Shredder, which is self-mill, which equates to drawing a card each turn, and a Chaomancer, and Snapcaster, if you have one of these, is good. He's not that expensive. I mean, he is expensive. Then we have Mirari Conjecture, and the great, the powerful, the Mystic Retrieval. Oh my god, so the crowd is going wild! Basically, all of these cards can end up getting you cards back from your graveyard. Then moving on to cards that get us other cards, we have our tutors. You see, we have Mystical Tutor, which is an instant. Solve the Equation, which is a sorcery. Most of the time when we cast these spells, we will be searching for Time Warp. However, Sunforger, Sunforger can't get Time Warp, but guess what it can get? Oh, it can get these. Yep, that's right. Sunforger gets these, and then these get this. All you need is an absolute ton of mana. Moving on to the second to last, we have two kind of random cards. We have Wrath Capuchin, which gives all of our artifacts flash. This is actually surprisingly relevant. And then we have this guy who actually reads, he reads draw a card every time you cast or copy an instant or sorcery. Lastly, we have a couple of random cards, which I'm not sure if they go in the deck or not. Leyline of Anticipation, which allows me to flash out anything. Portal Mage, which is just, wow, it redirects attacks. As Foretold, which is just, it's really good with a lot of instant speed stuff. It lets you just cast stuff, it's so good. And then Pull from Eternity, which is part of that combo. We can also grab back, you know, like flashbacked cards, or sometimes I have cast it to get things back that I've cast with Snapcaster, or, you know, Reconstruct History. This is actually not a completely worthless card. So it's not that good, but it isn't worthless. Moving on to the only thing that matters now, the lands. We're going to be running some various blue sources. I do need to get all three of these. I don't actually have all three of them currently. We have things that tap for any color, including 2 fetch lands, 7 islands, 4 mountains, 5 plains, and of course the reason we're running all these plains is because of the board wipes which we need to be able to cast, because, you know, they all have double pips. And then lastly we have a Reliquary Tower, which may be taken out, but I just think it's really pretty. And so that has been my Sevinne deck. I hope you enjoyed.